Namaskar. On behalf of the Department of Science and Technology, I, Nidhi Kumar, extend a very warm welcome to all of you on this program today. Tam Soma Jyotirgame, O light of exceptional glory, enlighten the darkness of our minds. For dark is the and thou holdest the light. जैसा कि हम सभी जानते हैं कि किसी भी कार्यक्रम का शुभ आरंभ हम दीप प्रज्वलन से करते हैं. I request our esteemed dignitaries for today to light the lamp of knowledge.
शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
So, friends, remembering 50 years of the Department of Science and Technology and what has been the journey, the challenges, the numerous achievements, and the enormous success, to talk about this and more, we are indeed privileged to have with us today Dr. Manoj Kumar Pateria, advisor and head of NCSDC. We request you, sir, to share your inspiring thoughts to make this occasion really come alive in its relevance and importance. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Nidhi. It is my pleasure and privilege to welcome today's speaker on the occasion of DST Golden Jubilee Discourse series, Mr. Ramanathan, Director, Atal Innovation Mission, Niti Ayog. Mr. Raman is not new to us, and we have been discussing many things together on various aspects of innovation, science, technology, development, and new tools and techniques like artificial intelligence. And I remember when I was in CSIR Nescare, Dr. Raman led a discussion on innovation and all the its implications and how we can change the scenario all around the country with the intervention of STI. I hope that this lecture that is going to be delivered, and I'm sure would be very captivating and would be very enlightening, especially for all the audience. And we are expecting a number of questions, number of pointed aspects, and we would request Mr. Raman to kindly address them to further enlighten our audience and all of us. When it comes to newer technologies, I think India has been at the forefront for not only accepting but putting together a number of efforts for augmenting and developing new technologies. And the same is happening with artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is really going to change the way of life, the way of thinking, and the way of the entire scenario, visible as well as invisible world. And India is really moving forward with number of avenues, number of technologies, number of plans, and developing manpower, developing technological advancement and whatnot. And as a matter of fact, as all the technologies have, we have some rosy picture. At the same time, we have some other implications. So are with artificial intelligence also. Recently, I read a story where the Guardian newspaper has published an op-ed, an editorial. It was not prepared by a human. It was prepared by a robot with the help of artificial intelligence, and they fed some information, and the robot with some software and some artificial intelligence enabled system, it was able to produce the desired level of desired standard article, which was suitable for publication in the newspapers like the Guardian. So this is the time we are passing through. and we are really looking forward for that. And as we are in the area of science and technology communication, so this artificial intelligence is really going to augment the skills, the abilities, and providing an interface between the human and the technological interface to further augment the quality and the quantity of science communication activity. Say for writing a poetry, say for writing a science fiction. So this artificial intelligence enabled systems are really would be a great help for multiplying the human effort, and convergence with the artificial intelligence would be a future perspective, and we are really very much excited for that. At the same time, as I said in the beginning, there are a number of areas where people are raising concerns. As you look at, for example, if you have to search anything, we have a tendency to just Google it. So suppose if some idea occurs to me or occurs to anybody, we have a tendency to just put on Google, oh, what is happening, what Google says. But at the same time, we have to be aware that whenever we put anything on any search engine, their artificial intelligence enabled systems, they grab the idea. And it has been witnessed by on number of occasions that before you submit a proposal for getting a patent of certain technologies, already there are certain number of patents filed on this particular area, particular subject. So we have to be extra conscious, we have to be extra careful. And like we are in cyber physical systems, like we are in supercomputing and all these things. So we have to take care of these all of these guards whenever we are using this artificial intelligence, because Gandhiji has said we are nearing the though October 2nd of October, the Gandhi Jayanti. So it also reminds me that Gandhiji always said that there should be a man behind the machine. So with these words, I think once again, let me welcome on behalf of the Department of Science and Technology, National Council for Science and Technology Communication, Vigyan Prasar, and on my personal behalf, Mr. Ramanathan. And let us listen to him. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir, for your very, very inspiring words. And as you rightly mentioned, there is a celebration of Gandhi Jayanti tomorrow, and you also mentioned something about Gandhi. I would like to add to that. You also said, be the change that you want to see in the world. And we are at the frontiers of change. AI is going to bring in a lot of change. And our topic today, friends, is the role of artificial intelligence in the country and its impact on the Atal Innovation Mission. But before I request Sir to speak on this, a little bit I would like to share about his achievements. It is my pleasure to welcome today Shri Ramanan Ramanathan, who is the Mission Director of the Atal Innovation Mission, a flagship national innovation initiative of the Niti Aayog, the National Institution for Transforming India. Shri Ramanan has been instrumental to date in the launch and execution of several nationwide innovative and entrepreneurship initiatives, resulting in over 10,000 plus Atal Tinkering Labs being established in schools nationwide, with 5,000 operational in 650 plus districts and over 2 million students. We welcome you, sir, today to speak on the topic, which is the role of artificial intelligence in the country and its impact on the Atal incubation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Manoj Kumar, for giving me an opportunity to participate in this deliberation today. Thank you, Nidhi Kumar, for your generous introduction. And good evening to everybody who is logged on to this particular call. I hope all of you are healthy, hale, and hearty under these very difficult COVID-19 circumstances, and that you are following the necessary safeguards that need to be practiced and are advocated by your health authorities, by your institutions, or by the government. It's a very indeed important topic and a relevant topic today that we are discussing on the role of artificial intelligence, but I would say in a broader context, the role of science, technology, and innovation in spurring the growth not only of our nation, but also that of the world. And when we talk of growth, we are not talking just about economic and prosperity, growth related to financial development, but we're also talking about societal growth and societal good. And nowhere has the time been more relevant than now, with the COVID-19 crisis striking us in a very unprecedented manner. A simple virus has paralyzed nations across the world. It has disrupted supply chains across the world. It has disrupted lives and livelihoods in India and in many other parts of the planet. And it has also created an age of uncertainty, a fear of uncertainty of what is to come in the future. We are not only interested in knowing how to solve the current pandemic problem, but we are also very keen to know what it is life going to be in a post COVID-19 world. But along with great crisis also come great opportunities and great revelations. One of the things that COVID-19 has revealed to us is the power of technology and how technology has been shaping the world over the last several years. It has completely changed the way you are experiencing the world, the way the world is experiencing you. And as a result of which, today you and I are connected on this wonderful digital medium. We are able to communicate not only with each other, but we are able to communicate with hundreds and thousands of other people at the same time. We are able to continue life in a manner that we did not expect. We are still able to survive the onslaughts of a virus. It has opened our eyes to the possibilities of greater innovations that we should be doing leveraging technology. For as all of you would agree, my dear friends, technology has not only become affordable, it has become accessible, it has become advanced, and it has become available. As a result, a lot of things are being changed and the world is being reimagined through the leverage of technology. 3D printers are revolutionizing the way you are able to design, develop, and manufacture a product right in front of your eyes. And you don't need a large manufacturing factory in order to be able to do that. Communication technologies is enabling you to communicate and to do business and transactions from Salem to San Francisco, from Sikkim to Seattle. The power of technology is enabling your reach to become global, to be able to access information from anywhere and to be able to market your goods and services to any place and to respond to any crisis instantaneously. Robotics is changing the way automation is happening in the world. Through robotics, you are introducing IR 4.0 technologies, Industry Revolution 4.0 technologies, and you are able to now manufacture and generate productivity at a completely unprecedented level. Transportation systems are being developed, advanced transportation systems leveraging electric technology and electric mobility, which is now revolutionizing the way you can control emissions in the planet and thereby limit the impact of climate change. You are having wireless services, whether it is 5G technologies, which are making plant-to-plant, machine-to-machine communication possible. You're also having 5G technologies, which is going to enable every plant, device, or even the human being to get connected to computerized connecting systems. Now, that is where artificial intelligence has begun to make sense. You see, artificial intelligence was not something new. It was a concept that was existing several years ago. Even when I was growing up as a student in my school back in the 70s and the 80s, we used to talk about artificial intelligence. But artificial intelligence needed the convergence of affordable, accessible, available, and advanced computing, communication, and sensor technologies to come to bear in order for it to become useful. And that is where we are now today. We are today in a world where computing technologies has advanced exponentially. You have nano computing, you have objective technologies and object-oriented programming languages which are enabling revolution in software development. You are having advances in communication technologies and very fast, high-speed, large data communication technologies. You're having advancements in big data and analytics, the ability to process large amounts of data in very short periods of time. Now, when you have this convergence of computing, communication, and big data analytics, software engineering technologies, when you have that convergence, artificial intelligence becomes a natural outcome. Because what is artificial intelligence? It is the mimicking of human intelligence. Now, when we are talking of human intelligence, what do we do as a human being? We process various inputs coming through various our sensory organs, whether it is the eyes, the ears, the feel, the touch, and so on. And all of this data comes and we process them at lightning speed, and we are able to detect patterns. We are able to make sense of what we are seeing. We are able to take decisions. Now, the same thing is being enabled through large amounts of data being communicated, whether it is through social feeds, communication feeds, or sensor technologies, and very powerful computing, which can fit in the size of your pocket. And that computing power is able to process these technologies and is able to detect new patterns. It is able to detect mine new information from all the data that is being gathered, and it is now able to start making decisions. And these decisions would be supporting human endeavor for further growth and further prosperity, as well as for further societal good. Now, if you look at artificial intelligence, there is no sphere of activity, no vertical which cannot be impacted by artificial intelligence. Take agriculture, you need precision agriculture. In a country like Israel, which is in a desert, you are having now export of water and export of food. Now, how did that happen? It happens because of sensor technologies and computing technologies and AI technologies coming together to create precision agriculture. You see, when you're watering a field and you're watering a crop and you're irrigating a particular crop, you need to know through various sensory data the exact amount of fertilizer that needs to be put, the exact amount of water that needs to be irrigated, and the exact time at which the harvesting has to be done. That is called precision agriculture. Just like you have precision machinery and precision engineering, you are able to bring precision to every aspect of healthcare, education, water management, waste management, housing, smart housing, and so on. And therefore, you are now able to create systems which are going to help you. Robotic systems, computerized systems, leveraging also the power of the mobile phone and the smartphone to be able to direct the simple farmer who is not necessarily knowing all the other technologies, but how to deliver that information which is relevant to the farmer so that his farm or her farm is able to double the productivity and his or her income gets doubled because of eliminating all the middlemen. Now, that is what technology can do. And that is what artificial intelligence is the most exciting thing that is happening on the planet. Every solution that you see in every sphere of your activity, whether it is in education, look at education. How do we, for example, ensure that we direct the right type of education to the right person with the right talent and the right aptitude? This is a problem. Many times we force our children to learn in a particular area. The child may be very good in art, they may be very good in writing, they may be very good in poems, but you will be forcing them into engineering. And that's not in their aptitude. That's not what they want to do. But if I have an AI-enabled system, it will quickly be able to detect that this child, based upon a pattern that you are seeing over the years, is actually an artist. And therefore, giving that child the opportunity to express her or his innovative talent in art, and giving that expression through the learnings and the teachings that the child is able to imbibe will create the artists of the future. And that is in education. And we all have similar things to explain in various aspects of our lives. And this is why the Atal Innovation Mission has been launched in order to create this culture of innovative thinking, which is required in order to use these technologies to solve the problems. We want to create problem solvers of the future. We want to create the innovators of the future. We want to create the job creators of the future. India is 1.3 billion people. We have 1.4 million schools. We have 10,500 engineering and related institutions. We have 39,000 colleges. We have 150 million young students entering into the workplace. How do we ensure that this demographic dividend, which is the envy of many a country, which countries are feeling that, wow, India is having this enormous youthful energy and this enormous youthful strength to carry it to the next several decades. How do we ensure that this demographic dividend gets empowered with the tools, the technology, the knowledge, and the skills to deal with solutions and create solutions for tomorrow? And that is why we are setting up thousands of Atal tinkering labs across the country. We have set up more than 5,000 tinkering labs today, which are operational, with 2.5 million students getting exposed to the latest of technologies like 3D printers, robotics, IoT devices, miniaturized electronics, augmented virtual reality, do-it-yourself kits. We have launched, along with NASSCOM, artificial intelligence basic and step-up modules so that children between grade 6 to grade 12 start understanding what AI solutions are all about. Now, you may think, isn't this too young an age for them to be inducted into AI? No, it is not, because today you have technology which is in a plug and play mode. And the concept of the technology and the concept of how that technology can solve the problem can be imbibed and can be introduced to children at a young age. And why do we want to do that? We want to do that because we want to convert them from a rote learning mindset that we have all got used to. We all got used to get good marks, go to a good university, get good marks again, go to the next big university abroad, get good marks again, and go and get a new job, whether it is in IBM or TCS or Wipro or Infosys and so on. We have trained our people to become job seekers. Now, it has served us well, mind you. We have created a $191 billion ITS industry because of our focus on education, because of our focus on rote learning. But are we not undermining the potential of our innovative young Indian students? And yes, we are, if we will continue them on the rote learning mindset. We need to transform them into a problem-solving, innovative mindset. And that is why these Atal Tinkering Labs are a game changer in the educational system. And it is aligned with the new educational policy that the current government has rolled out, where we want to make sure that our children become problem solvers of tomorrow. Not just the best educated, but they actually create the solutions that the world needs, that new India needs, that we all dream about. And that is why when these students go into the university, we are creating world-class incubators. These incubators will foster world-class startups. Now, why do we need startups? We are already a startup nation. We have 55,000 startups in our country. We have over 400 incubators today in our country. And this is all because if you do not enable the startup and help the startup at crucial stages of its life cycle, they fall into what are called as valleys of death. And we want to eliminate these valleys of death, and therefore the government is giving a grant of up to 10 crores to each of these incubators so that they will be able to nurture and hold the startup at these critical valleys where they don't want them to fall to their death, but they want them to be able to bridge it. And by doing so, we will create a startup nation, one of the most innovative nations of our world. And what are these startups doing? These startups are leveraging AI technology, IoT technology, augmented reality, virtual reality technologies to create solutions, whether it is agri-tech, whether it is biotech, whether it is in healthcare, whether it is in education, whether it is in waste management, whether it is in transportation or electric mobility, whether it is in addressing the aspirational districts of our country, the problems of the aspirational districts of our country. We are using artificial intelligence, satellite-based, communication-based, and cognitive technologies to be able to bring to bear in creating the solutions which are needed for tomorrow. And in order to promote innovation across in the rural India, tier 2, tier 3 cities, which is very important. You see, we have 8,000 towns and cities in our country. We have only 8 tier 1 cities. We cannot have the entire 8,000 towns and cities and 600,000 villages people flocking to the 8 tier 1 cities. That is what is creating the urban migration problem. But science, technology, and innovation can help address this problem. So what we want to do is we are setting up hundreds of community innovation centers across in rural India, tier 2, tier 3 cities, so that you are spurring innovations, leveraging AI, leveraging all the technologies that I talked about to create local innovation relevant to that community and local job creation. Take, for example, a tribal city, a tribal district. How can we ensure that we generate employment in the tribal districts? We can do that by creating new opportunities in forest management, water management, electricity management, The tribal skills and tribal handicrafts can be, we can ensure that they can reach across to the different parts of the world. And that is why these Atal community innovation centers will play a big role in not only enhancing the implementation of innovation which is relevant to that particular community in the rural districts and the tier 2, tier 3 cities of India, but they will also help in spurring new innovation and new job creation. And in order to create solutions which are relevant to our country, we are launching what are known as Arise and Atal New India Challenges, applied research and innovation for small enterprises, and Atal New India Challenges for the larger ones. Now, these challenges are worked along with ministries. So we work with different ministries, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation, Ministry of Manufacturing or the MSME industry, to identify with ISRO, with defense. And we have just recently launched 15 challenges so that solutions using AR, VR, using artificial intelligence, using IoT technologies, using communication and computing, advanced computing technologies will be presented, and they will be given a grant of up to 1 crore or 50 lakhs, depending upon the nature of the innovation. All of this will go to address what the Honorable Prime Minister says in his clarion call, the 5 pillars of Atmanirbhar Bharat. The pillar of demographic dividend, the pillar of infrastructure. We need smart infrastructure, not only the physical infrastructure for the 600,000 villages and cities, but we need digital infrastructures and digital highways where the ability to leverage AI and other technologies will come into play and will enable our young population to acquire the skills and become the most innovative nation of the world. The pillar of demand, which the Prime Minister has talked about. We have 1.3 billion people. So the demands of our country are many. We have 715 districts, out of which 115 are aspirational districts. And these aspirational districts are in the bottom of the pyramid in terms of access to healthcare, education, affordable housing, drinking water, or waste management. We want to bring the benefits of innovation, technology, and AI to bear in each one of these solutions. And finally, the pillar of socio-economic progress. How do we ensure that we do not increase the digital divide and we do not increase the economic divide? How do we reduce the divide between the haves and the have-nots? That is what is required for a country like India, where 22% of our country is still below the poverty line, where 44% of our country is agri-economy based. We have to make sure that we carry them along as we rise to prosperity for the rest of the country. So we need to ensure that social innovations are encouraged as much as economically driven innovation. And social innovation will at their heart have AI because it is based upon data collection, data analysis, big data analytics, and big data processing. When you do that, the AI systems will tell us where do we need to focus to address the gap, the digital divide or the economic divide. And then truly, we will become an Atmanirbhar Bharat. So artificial intelligence, my dear friends, is here to stay. There is a lot of talk whether artificial intelligence is going to create job problems. No. In fact, it is going to spur new jobs because AI is required in every field. You know, so far over the last few years, everybody has been flocking only to the electronic or IT disciplines. But now, suddenly, there is a great need for civil engineers, for aeronautical engineers, for construction engineers, for healthcare sector, in biotech, and so on, because artificial intelligence permeates through all of these verticals, and it will be needed to create solutions. And unless you are familiar with the domain of that particular engineering or in that particular area, and even if you take art, and even if you take and the example that was given earlier by Dr. Manoj on how it can help you to write a poem, how it can help you to edit a prose, whether it is prose, whether it is poetry, whether it is art, or whether it is engineering, all of them can benefit from artificial intelligence. But it is also important for us as we move into the world of artificial intelligence to see that AI is harnessed for good. Any technology can be harnessed both for good or it could be misused. We know the harmful effects of nuclear technology. We also know the beneficial effects of nuclear technology. So technology has to be used to ensure that the harmful effects of technology are also eliminated or reduced. It is like a knife in the hands of a surgeon. It saves a life. In the hands of a killer, it kills. We need to become surgeons using artificial intelligence for good. And this has to be ingrained in every school of discipline that we inculcate in the children. Ethics, values, integrity, and knowledge about how technology can be leveraged for good should be an integral part of the education that every student receives. I'm sure with this, our nation will become one of the most innovative nations of the world, and we will achieve the new India of our dreams. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to share a few thoughts on this particular occasion.
Thank you so much, sir. I think that was absolutely brilliant. और आपने जिस तरह कहा, from Salem to San Francisco, AI is needed everywhere. And आपने माननीय प्रधानमंत्री के आत्मनिर्भर भारत के बारे में भी कहा. तो हम यही कहना चाहेंगे सारे व्यूअर्स के साथ कि let us all reimagine the new India. कैसा होगा ये नया भारत? किस तरह की कल्पना करेंगे हम उस नए भारत की? और आपने ये भी कहा कि बहुत सारी जॉब्स इनफैक्ट बढ़ने वाली हैं, घटने नहीं वाली हैं. So on that note, I mean, I think it was a very, very insightful and a very visionary lecture. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm sure so did each viewer. And now I need to seek your permission, sir, to start the Q&A round. I can see lots of questions coming from all over India. Do I have your permission to take the first question, sir?
Sure, please.
So the first question comes to us from Payal at New Delhi. She wants to know the schemes on waste management. आपने अभी कुछ बात की थी waste management की. I would like you to please share some examples so that maybe she would get propelled to, do some work for the same.
Yeah. So I think it's a very good question and a very important question. The problem of waste management is a very important problem for all of us to address. There was a study done that if we do not address waste management, let us say in the northern region, just the city of Delhi, by 2035 or 2040, you will need a city of the size of Delhi to be holding the waste generated from the northern region. So you'll need a city of that size to be holding that waste. And we cannot allow that to happen. That will create grievous problems of health, hygiene, and all of that. So it is very important for us to address waste management very effectively. And we have talked of, that's why there is an educational part and an awareness part which needs to be built into society, into our educational systems, and so on. And we are trying to do this very carefully with Atal Tinkering Labs, for instance. We introduce many problems related to waste management, and then we ask the children to solve it. And many of these startups who are addressing waste management problems are addressing it in multiple ways. One, how can you use, for example, technology for segregation of waste management? There are robotic technologies which can be used for automatically segregating between organic waste and inorganic waste, and then being able to dispose of this waste. How do you use technology very effectively to dispose of the waste? Second is, how do you create more and more, biodegradable packages or packaging and so on, so that you are eliminating the problems related to waste management and it gets converted into useful manure or fertilizers and so on and so forth. How do you also leverage sensor technologies, for example, IoT technologies, in being able to identify pockets of areas which need immediate attention to waste management? You see, in this COVID-19 crisis also, now waste management has become an issue because you have to ensure that the hygiene aspect of it is addressed. And so how do you make surfaces contactless? How do you do with less contact? How do you do with less organic waste? I mean, most of the metals, for example, if you touch, how you have issues related to the COVID-19 spreading. So there are sanitizers being developed and so on, which are very effective and which can be lasting for a longer amount of time in terms of the contact based issues that are there. So waste management has multiple dimensions of solution. There is an organization, a startup, which is already doing a lot of work where they are collecting the city's waste and disposing it off. But their problem is they do not know at any point in time where the waste has not been collected or where it has been stationed for a very long time without being cleared, as a result of which diseases can spread and so on. So they are introducing some innovative sensor-based technologies to detect that, and surveillance-based technologies using drone technologies to be able to identify these hotspots of waste collection and disposal, and to be able to manage waste effectively. So many AI is going to play a very important role in waste management, as I mentioned, because it is through AI. AI is leveraging now satellite technologies, GIS technologies, and sensor technologies together to identify where to, for example, which parts of the country is generating electronic waste. Even our river, much of the waste gets disposed on the rivers. Analysis of the water content, and being able to identify that these are the sources of waste into the rivers, which is polluting our rivers and thereby polluting the water, and it's creating grievous loss of lives to people who are using that water in either for drinking or for other purposes. So many of these are aspects that are being looked at, and we are working closely with the Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation to bring challenges to the forefront to be able to address this problem.
Thank you so much, sir, for the answer. And I'm sure, Payal, you got your answer here. Or before I take the second question, I'd like to thank from this forum all the Safai Karmacharis of India who have, really been with us through thick and thin of the pandemic. And on every single day, they have come and segregated our waste products and everything in all our homes. तो उन सभी को इस मंच से मैं आज नमन करना चाहूंगी. I take the second question now, sir. What about school meal programs? This question comes from Rohit from Kanpur. How can technology help here? You had answered that 1.4 million children go to schools and you are providing them with a lot of things. Please elaborate a little more, sir.
No, can you just repeat that question?
School meal programs, sir. School meal programs. Is there some way of...
Yeah. So I think the school meal program is a great initiative by the government to ensure that our children from schools, which are also catering to the underdeveloped sections of the economic part of our country, or the disadvantaged, economically disadvantaged, are able to address this particular problem. But AI can be very useful in identifying. Like I mentioned, we have 115 districts of our country which are aspirational districts out of the 715 districts which are there. And in each district, you have problems related to the meal management of these students in school, effective meal management and distribution, as well as ensuring that there is consistency in quality and standards in the quality of meals that is being distributed. So technology can play a great role through the collection of information. There is this wonderful poster that I saw somewhere, that you can take all you want when you take on a meal, on a plate, but you cannot waste any of it. So take as much as you want, but eat everything that you serve yourself on your plate, and do not waste it. And waste in a meal management scheme, where people either take more than they can consume, and as a result of which a lot of it just goes waste, becomes an unnecessary waste which could have been fodder for somebody else. So AI can play a big role in being able to ascertain the pockets which need attention, as well as the efficient management of meals across the schools in the country, and the requirement of resources. The other thing is, how do we get the private sector involved in many of these initiatives of the government? Because unless the private sector participates, this is not going to be a sustainable solution. So this can be with the help of NGOs. There are a number of NGOs who are involved, so they help in gathering that information. The Niti Aayog constantly looks at how to improvise on these schemes as a part of its think tank work. And as all of you also know, AI has the strategy roadmap for AI in every vertical, whether it is in the educational vertical or in the agriculture vertical, etc. That strategy roadmap has been created by Niti Aayog, and that's available on its website. So there is a lot of activities related to the same.
And I would like to just add to this that I think you said about including NGOs and all that. So I think FSSAI by the GOI is doing a wonderful job. They're even segregating, and I mean the meals that you said should not be wasted. They're even segregating the temple waste and giving it to the people who require it. So kudos to FSSAI and GOI. The third question comes to us from Richa from Mumbai, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Richa from Mumbai, she wants to know the challenges that you can have when you're starting a startup as far as money is concerned, as far as fostering product innovation is concerned. Uh, is there some way we could lessen the challenges, sir? Possibly that is what she's asking.
A startup has many challenges, but let us look at the word startup, and all the answers are there. The S stands for the solution. You need to have a solution that will create an impact, a solution that is unique and that is addressing a problem. Many people create a solution not knowing what problem it is going to solve. First, identify the problem that is going to solve and create a solution for it. The T stands for technology. How do you leverage technology in the creation of the startup? And therefore, technologies, the emerging technologies like 3D printing, robotics, IoT, or AI are going to be very relevant in the quality of your innovation and in the spread and the reach of your innovation. The A stands for agility. Agility means a startup has to be very responsive to the customer needs, to the changing customer trends, to the changing trends of technology. The agility comes with an acquisition of knowledge and the implementation of an action plan. So every startup can't just be a dreamer. They have to have a very clear action plan, and that action plan should have milestones, very clear milestones, which they should lay out a business plan as well as a technology plan so that they know how they are progressing against their own plan. The R stands for re-engineering. A solution, yes, in a startup world, you create a solution, but that solution has to be re-engineered and improvised continuously until it meets the desired objective. You don't land up with the solution, perfect solution, the very first time. And therefore, a lot of improvisation, which means continuous feedback being sought by the users and then improvising. If you look at the iPhone today, the iPhone of today, it started about 12 years ago, but you still have an iPhone. But what is the difference between the iPhone of 12 years ago and the iPhone today? Huge difference. And that is because of re-engineering that iPhone continuously, whether it is integrating camera technologies, whether it is integrating computing technologies, new apps, whether it is the surface, the body, the lightness, the weight, the size, all of this plays a role in continuous improvement and re-engineering. The T stands for, again, team. You need to have the right team. If you don't have the right team, you're not going to be creating a successful startup. So have the right team, and the team should have skills that you don't have. The U stands for uniqueness of the solution. You have to have a solution which is unique and not a copycat, because you'll have many copycats for that, and then you'll soon find yourself outrun and outmaneuvered in the marketplace. And the P stands for persistence. Persistence is absolutely necessary in a startup world. There is no word called failure. The word fail is the first attempt in learning, according to Abdul Kalam, not according to me. And therefore, in a startup world, you either succeed or you have the first attempt in learning. If you incorporate all of this in a startup, your startup is going to succeed and is not going to fail. And it will automatically create the financial pull that is required from investors. Investors are looking for all of these. If you have all of these in your startup, they're going to invest money in it, and you're not going to find that as a problem.
Thank you so much. I think that was very well answered. We go on to question number 4, sir. This comes from Rajinder from Chennai. And his question is, what is Mentor India campaign and how can we take it to the public sector and even to the corporate sector?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for bringing that particular point, which I forgot to mention during the talk that I gave. You see, mentorship is key for the success of almost every one of Atal Innovation Mission initiatives, and I think any initiative that anybody has. After all, mentorship is the attempt to help you move forward. And it is done by people who are willing to give their expertise, their knowledge, their time, their effort in order to help you on your innovation journey. So right at the beginning, we launched what is known as a Mentors of India, Mentors of Change application across the country, where we requested anybody who is interested in mentoring should fill this application. And it is a voluntary act. It is not paid for. It's not a commercial transaction. And we were pleasantly surprised to find more than 10,000 people had registered to become mentors and mentors of change. because you are the architects of change. Look at the role that you play. You want to give back to the society in some way. So if you want to give back to the society, what better way than to share the knowledge and the expertise that you have gained over the years for the benefit of the young budding innovator? And the satisfaction of seeing that innovator blossom in front of your eyes because of your help is something that is unique and unparalleled. So we have already allocated 4,800 mentors of change to our tinkering labs. We've also allocated over several hundred mentors to our incubators and startups, and we are constantly looking for new mentors. There is a mentor application portal that is open all the time in the Atal Innovation Mission. You just have to go to the Atal Innovation Mission website, log on to that, give the details on that. We are, of course, looking for certain amount of experience and certain knowledge and background that the mentor should have to be able to help others. They should have some years of experience, or they should be specialists in certain areas, and then we will allocate them to an appropriate startup or to a tinkering lab for them to monitor and help the students.
Wonderful. They do get acknowledgement from the Niti Aayog as well, I guess,
Yes.
once they join you, and it is always good to give back to society.
If you now see many LinkedIn posts, they will always add mentor of change of Atal Innovation Mission.
Yes. So it gives them a high in their profile as well, sir.
Absolutely.
The next question comes to us from Piyushi from Jamshedpur, and she has this question for you. She wants to know about 3D printers, robotics, miniaturized electronics, and do-it-yourself kits, and where should she log on to get these? She's presently running a school or is about to open one.
So she has to log on to www.aim.gov.in. Okay, and if you log on to the Atal Innovation Mission website, it will point you to a link of resources that we have made available to everybody. And those resources contain a whole lot of online sessions, tutorials, YouTube sessions, webinars that we have conducted. Everything that we do, we put it on that website. And there are a lot of lessons, practical lessons on 3D printing, on robotics, on IoT, on artificial intelligence, on game development, on app development, and so on. It's a very rich repository of resources that are there. So I would encourage every student who is interested, or even a teacher or a mentor, to refer to those resources and be able to upgrade their knowledge.
Wonderful, and that is how 1.4 million students in the country can benefit. So the next question comes from Rashi from Jammu. She writes in to know about the Prime Minister's India Innovative Learning Program, that is DRUV, and how can it be linked to MHRD? I'm not sure whether this question is right, but this is her question.
I don't know much about the linkages, but all the initiatives, the India Innovative Learning Program, as well as MHRD initiatives and secondary school education initiatives like Samiksha and all of that, these are all portals which are enabling the young budding innovator to not only learn about new technology and acquire new skills, but also there are many which are self-certifying. So you can also get a certificate, a self-certified acknowledgement that you have learned this and you have been able to go through the next grade and so on. So I would urge just to log on to the MyGov website, the Atal Innovation Mission website, or the MHRD website, and they will have enough information on what these resources are, how do we access it, and what are the benefits of through that.
And Rashi, if you have any further questions, you can write back to us. We'll answer all of those. And the next question is, of course, a very wonderful question, sir. It talks about the Gandhian Challenge launched in all schools along with UNICEF. I think you had an India Stamp Creativity Challenge as well, and an India Post Challenge. So tell us about the international collaborations. Tomorrow's Gandhi Jayanti. Let's talk about the international collaboration at the Atal Incubation Labs.
Yeah, and I thank you for bringing that up. Atal Innovation Mission has been continuously collaborating with the private sector as well as with international segment in order to create innovation exchange and to get the benefit of their knowledge into our innovation community of students. So for this, the Gandhian Challenge was a great challenge. It is exactly on the point that Dr. Manoj Kumar said. He mentioned about be the change that you want to see. Now, what is the change you want to see? When you address that particular problem, all the problems present themselves because you want something to change. And when you want something to change, the next question is, how do I go about changing it? And therefore, then we see how do you leverage technology for solving that problem, because technology is a tool that is available for you. And when we launched the Gandhian Challenge last time, we had an enormous response. We asked them what are the changes that you want to see in various verticals, in various communities that they live in, whether it is a traffic management problem, where some people said that, I have a problem, I have a differently abled person in my house, I'd like to help that person in some manner, and so on. So we had so many solutions that came out because of the creativity that got unleashed. We are similarly doing number of challenges with international segments. So we have a relationship, for example, with Sirius in Russia. When President Putin visited India a couple of years ago, 10 students from Russia also came along with him. So what we did was we had them interact with 10 innovative students from India, and they created a joint innovation workshop, as a result of which we created co-innovations between students from Russia and students in India. Now, isn't that marvelous? They don't speak the Indian language, we don't speak the Russian language, but when you put students together, technology becomes the language with which they start talking to each other. And when they understand technology, then automatically all the other barriers of languages fall down. It was a wonderful experience which led to a relationship between India and Russia on student exchange every year. And last year we had 25 students from India go to Russia and spend 4 to 5 weeks there, again learning about advanced technologies in space and artificial intelligence and so on, and doing some co-innovations which are again witnessed by the president there. Similarly, we have a relationship with Singapore, where we have students from India going to Singapore on an Inspreneur event, which is hosted annually, and the students get a chance to interact with each other and learn from each other and have innovation exchanges. We are planning similar hackathons now with Australia and with other governments. I would encourage all the students to participate in these challenges, and who knows, your next trip may be to one of these very exotic countries.
I guess we've lost Nidhi ji. I think she's trying to come back.
Okay.
Thank you so much for those wonderful questions, sir. And in the end, I'd like to just say to all our viewers that the Atal incubation mission indeed reinforces our belief that innovation is for India what quality was for Japan, a transforming agent. Let us build this momentum to the point that it makes India the innovation capital of the world. And आपका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया sir for spending your time and sharing your insights with us. And it was indeed a very, very wonderful conversation. And I'd like to now request Dr. Nakul Parashar, Director Vigyan Prasad, to please present the vote of thanks.
Sure, namaskar. On behalf of NCSTC and Vigyan Prasar, I want to thank Mr. Ramanan for accepting our invitation at such a short notice. I was short in a sense that for a person of his stature, where he's occupied 24/7, it at least should have been more than a month. But sir, we truly appreciate your acceptance of our request, and it was such a wonderful lecture that when I didn't get out of my seat, I just kept on watching and seeing you, because I guess at different forums I've heard you and I've had a chance to briefly meet you as well in my past lives as well. Truly thank you once again from the core of my heart, and would be very happy because at Vigyan Prasar we have a number of similar initiatives, and we thought we would get along with you. Aisha Chaudhary at your place, we spoke with her as well, and we were thinking of getting along with some movies that we make. IndiaScience.in is India's own OTT channel that we run, and that's where a number of such films from Atal Innovation Mission and others could be a game changer and could reach to a lot of people. So we'll come by, sir, we'll talk about it, but at this forum, at this point in time, we are nick in time that we have gotten it completed, and really want to thank you from the core of my heart. It was fantastic lecture. And for all others who have come and joined this lecture, I'm sure you would have benefited from it. Last but not the least, thank you so much, Nidhi and your entire team that has taken this whole program to a success. On this note, thanks once again, and look forward to on the other side of our Golden Jubilee Discourse series, where we could probably talk and take things to a next level. Thank you once again. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for your very, very insightful thoughts. With this, we come to an end, friends, of this program today. And as we firmly sign off and bring this ceremony and this lecture to an end, I request you to please stand for the national anthem. Jai Hind.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे